I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. It's Thursday, April 24th. It is the Daily Puck Drop. Welcome in, kiddos. We are broadcasting from the Limbeck Lumber Studios. You know this by now, contractors. They offer free deliveries. Everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. The largest stock moldings in the Pacific Northwest. Old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. Give Limbeck Lumber a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them at limbecklumber.com. We got a jam-packed show for you today. Happy NFL Draft Day show to one and all. This will be a packed NFL draft show. We got Mike Garafolo coming up in a few minutes, around 10:15 or so. Michael-Shawn Dugar from The Athletic at the bottom of the hour. Danny Kelly from The Ringer coming up at 11 o'clock. And then we wrap it up, of course, with Hey, What the Puck. So we will spend the pretty much the entire show talking about the NFL draft. We'll sneak in just a quick little M's note here before they get underway here at the bottom of the hour. Follow me and the show on all the social media platforms. Puck Sports on Twitter and Instagram, also on Blue Sky. Puck_sports there on TikTok. It's where we put all our show clips up every single day. And if you're old school, still use Facebook. We're on Facebook there as well. Also, check out the website, pucksports.com. If you want full access to everything, the free show plus bonus material that we do, MLB insider Ryan Divish, our series with Dane Brugler, our new podcast, The Sports Pit with Steve Sandmeyer and Matt Stretch Johnson. You can become a Pucks Posse member. $5 a month is all it's going to cost you, kiddos. And then if you sign up for a year, you get yourself a discount. Also up there, pucksports.com. And I'll be better at mentioning this as we lead up to the PGA Championship. We did the Puck to Picker Majors pool for the Basters, season-long golf contest that's going to run through the Open Championship there in July. You can still sign up, by the way, and try to win the grand prize, which is the stay and play package at Gamble Sands. Second place, foursome at Fairwood Country Club. Third place is a foursome at Mill Creek Country Club. Notice we're not giving away a sleeve of golf balls like some are. Okay. Fourth place is a round for foursome at one of Troon's Seattle premier golf courses. Anyways, you can still sign up and try to win. Now, you're behind the eight ball because if you didn't get in for the Masters, you're going to be behind people, like a lot. But there's still, hey, stranger things have happened. Maybe you don't win it all, but maybe you sneak into a fourth place. So if you want to sign up for Puck to Picker Majors pool, which, by the way, brought to you by Synthetic Turf Northwest. You want a brand new turf in your backyard with a putting green? Tired of the mud? Tired of the sun and the rain ruining your backyard? Tired of paying for water? Put in a synthetic turf lawn in your backyard like we did. syntheticturfnorthwest.com brings you our golf coverage throughout the summer. So you still can sign up there when you go to pucksports.com. You can find everything there at pucksports.com. Our new podcast with Graz and Gas, Take 5, which we produce. That's up there at pucksports.com. Just everything. All right. So draft coverage coming up. We'll start here in about 10 minutes or so here with Garafolo. Truth be told, because Garafolo's on the air right now for the NFL Network. He's on from 10 to 1. Let's see who gets better ratings. We'll take our chances here. So we had to tape him early in the morning. He's in Los Angeles. Reminder, no live draft show this year. My apologies, but the Limbeck Lumber Little League team's got a game tonight, so priorities. Got with the kids. We need a big win tonight, by the way. We need to get back on the winning ways. So we caught up with him earlier. He's got two big nuggets in there. One, we do address the Jalen Milroe rumors or just speculation of whether or not Seattle would trade down, would be in the market to draft Jalen Milroe. And then obviously we get into all the other rumors. Where does the draft really start? Who's trying to move up? Who's trying to move down? There's a lot of teams that are trying to move up in the 20s. So keep an eye on that. You'll hear that. You're going to hear that from Garafolo coming up later. A lot of teams that behind Seattle trying to get up to where kind of they're at. You know how Schneider loves to move picks, loves to trade down. To me, if you ask me what's the most likely thing to happen today, they're going to trade down. That's just how I feel. But he does address something, and we'll save it for when it when we play it. There's been this internet rumor out there, and I just thought it was some like weird thing on Twitter, and I'm like, I'm not going to pay much attention to it. This is the time of year where you just kind of roll your eyes at things. So I asked him. There's been some rumor about Kenneth Walker being on the trade market, and Garafolo responds to that. So I think people will find it interesting, very, very interesting to what he says. Maybe not, but it's a loaded draft class for running backs. Something we haven't talked a lot about because you look at their running back room and go, well, there's not really a need. Well, there's no need. No need for it. But if you do move somebody, all of a sudden, do you get a younger, cheaper option there at running back? So I think that's an interesting storyline here in the next few days to keep an eye on. If there's anything that happens potentially with him, and then them drafting a running back. I mean, again, they're changing their identity of a football team. More attack, downhill, running. Yes, they've got Walker. Yes, they've got Charbonnet, McIntosh. But if they find someone in this draft who they think can do the same things, maybe even a little better, and then recoup some draft capital and find a cheaper version of it, because this is the lifespan of these running backs. What is it, 3 years? Nothing. Keep an eye on that one. I think that's going to be an interesting storyline development here in the next few days. Michael-Shawn Dugar coming at the bottom of the hour. He's going to give the perspective on the Seahawks. Danny Kelly will go through his final mock draft coming up at 11 o'clock. Let me just sneak in a little Mariners, just a little, and then we'll get back to football, you Neanderthals. I promise. Hey, kudos to the M's last night. They finally, for the love of God, hit with runners in scoring position. Wasn't it just nice to have guys step up to the plate with runners on and then just batting them all around all over the place? Beautiful. JP with the home run. Good to see him get going last night. Couple of hits. I'll start it now. And maybe there's others out there that are claiming to be the president. I'd like to be the first one that I know of, but I'm also willing to acknowledge there may be somebody else that has started this already. The Bill, I don't even know his name, so maybe I can't claim it. The Ben Williamson fan club president. I'd like to nominate myself. I said it yesterday. When he made that play, when he picked that ball at third and then went around the bag into foul territory to throw out Alex Bregman, that is third base porn for me. I enjoy the hot corner. It's just it's probably my favorite position. That was beautiful. And he has been magnificent with the glove since coming up. And hell, has he been a one hell of a surprise at the plate. What do you have? Do you have 3 hits last night? 2 hits. 3 hits? I mean, that hit, I think the second hit where he kind of sawed it off into right field, that's beautiful hitting. That is professional hitting right there from Ben Williamson. So I'd like to nominate myself quickly as the first Ben Williamson president of the Ben Williamson fan club. Man, I might have to buy a jersey. Be that guy. That's how in love I am right now with Ben Williamson playing third base for the Mariners. God, it's beautiful. It is a beautiful thing to watch him play. If he continues to hit, to look over at a position and go, that's locked up. That's locked up for a decade. Good. And he had a great interview afterwards with Brad Adam. It was wonderful. There's a lot to like with what Ben Williamson can bring to the plate. Also, take a bow, Emerson Hancock. Boy, did he get shit on by a lot of you Mariner fans after that first start. My God, on social media. Jesus. Like that guy was the worst pitcher anyone has ever seen, reading some of these comments from these dorks out there. He's the worst. Get him. This has been a problem. He has to be DFA'd. He can't make another start. God. This guy has one rough outing. And people are just, he can never make another start again. He comes back, goes back down there to Tacoma. Whatever he fixes or not fixes, I don't know what he did. But he comes back up. Reds, he's fine. And then yesterday, sensational. Sensational yesterday. Just was. They needed that start yesterday so desperately, so they didn't have to just wear out their bullpen again. And he was I don't know. He was magnificent. This is what you saw, leading up to his debut in the majors. This is what you heard about. His velocity, mixing pitches, staying ahead, getting ahead, all of that. And I just think dealing with, making one start and then immediately being sent down. And, I think to regroup after that, but that tells you a lot about the character there of Emerson Hancock. Hey, does it hold up? We'll wait and see. But I've just the reaction from some on social media about Emerson Hancock has always been weird to me. No one has ever not built him up to be nothing more than a fifth starter. That's it. And if that's your fifth starter, okay. I'll take that. No one has ever, I think some, because of the success of Kirby and Gilbert, Wu and Miller, have envisioned Emerson Hancock to be like a number one ace on a team. I just don't think no one has ever really, no one with a brain has ever thought that. And so the reaction to when he has a bad start, which fifth starters do, was just comical from some people. But good for Emerson Hancock. They get going today. The runners in scoring position was great yesterday. That's exactly what you got to do. Take advantage of a pitcher like that, and just advantages that they just haven't been able to do. And hopefully they can somehow keep it up. And they've got their word cut out for them today with Garrett Crochet. 2 earned runs in his last 4 starts there for Garrett Crochet. All right, but that's it. M's, we're done. Sorry. Good luck today. It's NFL Draft Day. It is a holiday for many of you. There is nothing like this in sports. The build-up to the NFL Draft. Nothing compares to it. And no league does it better. Whether you roll your eyes at it like I do a bit, I do find today and the next few days massively entertaining. Because you want to see what your favorite team's doing, right? How they're going to build, how they are going to get better for the future, what areas they're going to address, and then we get to complain about it. We get to complain. It's it was the wrong pick, or it was a reach there, or what is he doing? We get a second guess. I mean, that's the best thing about sports is second guessing, and then being wrong and being right at the same time. It's a wonderful thing. So today will be amazing day. We'll see what the Seahawks do. Again, my gut is they're gonna move down. I just got a feeling that he's gonna move down. That he desperately wants to pick up some more picks, and then I think there's gonna be a scenario. I think I would just for Seahawks fans, I'd brace yourself for this. That he moves down, and then in that 17, 18, 19, or that 18, 19, 20 slot, and maybe I know it can happen sooner. Gray Zabel goes. It's just people are going to lose. We're all going to lose their minds. I mean, I'll lose my mind. All right, let's kick off our NFL draft coverage here on day 1 of the NFL draft. Caught up with him earlier today. He's in Los Angeles, the NFL Network studios, getting ready. He's doing the show right now as we speak. So you can flip on the NFL Network, watch Mike there, and then watch him here because we recorded it earlier today. And, of course, it's always brought to you by Hartley & Hartley Insurance and Zogs on Fox Island. Here he is. The rock and roll reporter, looking like a movie star starring in some action film movie with Mark Wahlberg. Here he is from the NFL Network, Mike Garafolo. Well, it's we got NFL Draft Day, and no NFL Draft coverage is not complete without our guy, Mike Garafolo from the NFL Network. He's in Los Angeles in the War Room. His weekly appearance brought to you by Hartley & Hartley Insurance, your trusted family-owned insurance experts in the Puget Sound area. Since 1978, honesty, fairness, integrity. Contact Jamie Hartley, 253-565-8700. Also, Zogs on Fox Island. Perfect spot to grab a cold beer, hang out with friends, catch the game. Check out Zogs on Facebook and Instagram for their fall hours and event times. I'm in the Limback Lumber Studios. You are in the NFL Network Studios in Los Angeles. This is one of the greatest backgrounds, and because you're in Los Angeles, you really do look like a movie star. I mean, you got like the fighter bomber jacket on. We've got the gold chain. I mean, what are we starring in? Like you and Wahlberg and somebody else.
I didn't mean for it to be.
No. I love it. Keep it out.
Like it's a stainless steel chain. It's not like there's no cross. Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
There's no white tank top. You can't call it what it used to be called. No.
All right, here we go. It's here. It's NFL Draft Day. We got to get as much in as we possibly can. Your time is valuable here on this.
Damn right.
Okay, let's get to it. What's the latest buzz right now on the draft? What do we know? What are we hearing?
Listen, if Ashton Jeanty goes to the Jaguars, I'm going to be not kicking myself. I mean, because it wasn't my information, but I'm telling you, Daniel Jeremiah was the first one to really watch Jeanty at 5. And now everybody's on it, and now it sounds like that's the way it's going to go.
Okay.
If they don't trade up to 2, I don't think they're going to. The Browns, so the Travis Hunter, Ian reported, Jaguars were looking to go up to 2.
Mm-hmm.
The Browns going to 5. Now, the Browns, from my understanding, were then exploring the possibility of coming back up after that. So either to 4 or 3, which is some kind of analytical, well, we could trade away this, get this. Yeah, we'd lose Travis Hunter, but we would get Abdul Carter, and we would get this kind of capital in return. In the end, I think they just stay put, and they say we're going to take a generational two-way player who they see as a wide receiver first, primarily. That's what Andrew Berry has said. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of action in the top 5. I think it could go chalk. After that, it's going to get interesting. And it'll really get interesting if Sheduer doesn't go 3, which I don't think he will. And then we see what happens, how long the slide is at that point.
And is there a chance he slides all the way out of the first round?
No, I don't think so. I think he's going, because I will say, so now what happens is you open yourself up to, let's go back to Aaron Rodgers years ago, where it was like the Green Bay Packers didn't have a pressing need, didn't come in thinking they were going to take a quarterback, and then they go, hey, we got ourselves a possible successor. So that opens up the possibility the teams, I know the Rams have been discussed as potentially taking a quarterback, even though, and that would make sense to me because it's a dome team in a warm weather climate division, right? And that's what we've been talking about with Sanders. Can he power the ball through winds and cold with some of these Northeast teams? Wouldn't have to do it. I mean, you'd still have to go on the road and win some playoff games from time to time, but ideally you'd be playing most of your games in dome conditions and in warm weather. So, I think that's where you're going to get those teams creeping up. And then you're going to bring the Giants back in play and some of the teams that maybe didn't take him, the Browns necessarily. So there's just too many teams for me that would take him at any point in the back half of the first round. I just don't see him sliding all the way out, but I can't tell you that for sure.
I was even thinking as you're just describing that as just, something he slides that far and teams are like, well, we didn't really need one, but hell, why not? I just thought of Detroit.
Interesting one. Yeah, another dome team. Now they do play cold games on the road in the NFC North, but I mean, it's because at that point, look, I know we talk about the value of these first round picks. Go back and look at some of the picks in the 20s and 31 and 32. You start to get into coin flip territory at that point,
right?
100%. You really do. And so, okay, we take a quarterback. We either missed or we didn't need him or whatever. Who cares? It was the 27th pick in the draft. I'm just throwing a number out there.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, where are the Seahawks? Not that they would, but like, where are the Seahawks in this whole thing where they go, all right, we got Sam Darnold. Is he our guy for the long haul? We hope so. We don't know, right? And they committed guaranteed money for a short period of time to him. So they're not going to. I'm just saying, as I go off the top of my head and start to list all these teams, and certainly the Steelers will come into play. I don't think the Steelers are going to take a quarterback. I think they want to move back. The draft is in Pittsburgh next year. That's not the reason that they're going to do that, but it's also a quarterback draft where, think about in terms of the Chicago Bears trading with the Carolina Panthers, right? And not thinking that they'd have the number 1 overall pick again, and it wound up being Caleb Williams. You make a trade with a team, all of a sudden there's a rash of injuries. You say, oh, we make this trade. Well, it could be somewhere in the middle of the first round. All of a sudden it winds up being, one of the top 5 picks. The Seahawks with the Jamal Adams trade, right? I mean, that wound up being the same case. So, this is why the draft is fun.
All right, what's the latest chatter on 18? I mean, it's Gray Zabel's been a guy that's always has been mocked to them from a number of people. But is there anything percolating around our favorite team, the Seattle Seahawks?
Yeah, Zabel's a guy that could go before that too, as well. I've heard his name mentioned in a couple of places. So, listen, I know you want them to go offensive line, right, Puck? I mean, that's just based on the conversation.
I want every fucking pick to be an offensive lineman. That's all I want. I don't want anything else.
And just have that be your entire offensive line.
Yes, the entire forever.
Yeah.
That's all I want. They do something where and I know and people are right if like so one of these great wide receivers drops to them and yes, do they need a wide? Yeah, I acknowledge that, but they take a wide receiver. I'm gonna lose it for about an hour or so, and then I can recover.
I don't think they'll take a wide receiver. I do think, though, that there's a lot of names that are being mocked defensively to go ahead of them on the edge. Some of these defensive tackles,
the safety,
they get to that point. Maybe safety. But if they get to that point, I think that then they're going to have to have a conversation because I could see Jets going offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I could see Cowboys going offensive line. I could see Bears potentially going offensive line. Like all of a sudden, if there's a run on that,
yeah,
then you're in the edge rusher / linebacker / you're right, cornerback safety territory. You just take the best defensive player available at that point. But if you're trying to marry need and value, I think if you're the Seahawks, you want the edge rushers to go early, and then you get yourself a chance to get a good offensive line.
Ideally, he probably would like to trade down.
John?
Yeah.
Yes, because he's done that a bajillion times in the past. Yeah, and listen, I could give you hey, teams are, who would like to trade back and who's fielding calls. It happens all the time, right? Everybody. If you're a general manager and you haven't talked to 31 other general managers, by now you're not doing your job. So I don't buy too much into who's making these calls. And also, I could tell you I know teams in the 20s that want to come up, but it's going to be dependent on, and I don't know necessarily who it is. I can make a guess, but it's going to be dependent on, all right, this cluster of guys or one guy in particular, if he slides, they're making that call and saying, hey, if we got to get up to 18, it's going to cost this much, 17 this much, 16 this much. Once our guy, whoever it may be, drifts into that territory, bang, we know we can make the call.
Why don't you make a guess? Who is in the 20s? Who's in the 20s that'd like to move up?
We'll see.
Denver, Pittsburgh, Chargers, Packers, Vikings.
Chargers, yeah. Denver as well. But Denver, I think, is just exploring. I don't think they're going to move. I think they're going to stay put, if not trade back themselves. But they have definitely spoken to the teams in front of them, for sure.
Hey, what have you heard about Jalen Milroe? Where have you heard where his potential landing spot could be? There has been this growing sentiment out here. Sentiment, I should say. I think I said cinnamon. Of perhaps the Seahawks.
Use some cinnamon in this coffee. Do we have cinnamon?
No
cinnamon.
I do like putting cinnamon in my. Hey, there he is. Get him on the show.
Go ahead. Sorry.
What do you think? You think he late first round? There's been some thought the Seahawks would maybe trade back down. Late first round,
and take Milroe?
Yeah, or late or early second round. Are you hearing any
would
buzz?
Shock the hell out of me.
Really, would Milroe would shock you for the Seahawks?
Yeah. I would be very surprised. I do think that early in the second round, if you wanted to peg where he was going to go, I'd say early second round. I would. I don't think he's a first rounder. I think early second round. And look, you're bringing him in as a package guy, which initially is how. And I hate to make the comparison because Jalen Hurts to me is a much better, certainly now and before, passer.
Yeah.
Jalen Milroe's not he's a gadget type of guy. He's we got the Jalen Milroe package, which honestly, if you got that early second round and he did provide that for you for a couple of years,
sure,
that's not terrible value because we already talked about late first rounds coin flip. Yeah. At that point, if you get a guy that can contribute, I just don't see him as a full-time NFL starter.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
Do you think there's a quarterback that not named Ward, obviously, that goes above Sanders?
Potentially.
So like Jackson Dart. Dart would be the primary one.
Dart or Shuck. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I think Shuck's been overhyped. I do. I think he's been pumped up too much.
There's a lot of hype. I mean, if you listen to people and you didn't look at like where people have him mocked, you would think that Shuck is the number one quarterback in the class.
Yeah, well, Shuck's camp is notorious for pumping these guys up. So
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, I don't necessarily. I mean, maybe there's one team out there that would take him, and I could be wrong. Shuck. Somebody made the comparison of Malik Willis and Shuck to me last. Like, remember Malik Willis was hyped up, and he wound up going third round or whatever.
Yeah.
So if that person winds up being right, I'll give him their kudos.
Hey, there's some internet rumor going around, Twitter rumor. I don't know what's real and not real anymore. I mean, I really don't. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Is there any buzz or talk of the Seahawks shopping Kenneth Walker?
I saw that as well. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it depends on if they get themselves a running back in this draft, right? I mean, you're going to see that with a few teams because there's this cluster of 5 running backs, we'll call it, that are going to go in the first 2 to 3 rounds, early 3. And those teams are now going to have guys that are going to be expendable. So I think they've had conversations. I don't think that it's anything where they're trying to push him off on anybody. But they got Charbonnet, they got him, if they wind up getting another guy, somebody's going to be odd man out, right?
But it shouldn't surprise people if they were to move him.
I guess not. No. I guess
Yeah.
not. We'll see. I mean, I don't. Again, I was not told that they're shopping him by any stretch.
Okay, but at least you've heard it. It's not some rumor that's been coming out of the.
We've heard everything. By
Well,
now.
I don't know. I
don't
see
mean
this
that
stuff.
to sound, I know, but I don't mean that to sound like we know everything. What I'm saying is there's just so much time between free agency and the draft, and so many players involved that by now it's like you've heard everything. You don't know what's true and what's not true. To me, I think the interesting position to watch, and there's some receivers, George Pickens, obviously, but tight end. I think tight ends could be interesting because you've got Dallas Goedert, you've got Mark Andrews, veterans that are available and have been available to teams.
Oh, for trade.
And for trade, yeah. And now you're going to see those teams potentially hit or not hit on tight ends in the draft. From my understanding, this is like day 2 of, X team was like the Colts. Everybody's mocking the Colts. Not everybody, but a lot of people are mocking the Colts to take a tight end. If they don't, and they've been in on Goddard before, maybe they trade for Goddard at that point. So I think day 2 is what we're looking at for those guys.
Where are we at with Cousins and Aaron Rodgers?
So Rodgers is it's all speculation with him. Yeah. It's not all speculation. It's mostly speculation. I have yet to be caught in his crosshairs, where he's seen a report from me and been like, that is completely and utterly wrong, even though what he's done before with those is, they've been correct. I just get the sense as this goes on that he just wants to kind of wait and see if somebody gets hurt. If somebody has a need later, if the Vikings go, you know what? All right. Let's talk now. We're not so sure. So I don't think he's going to wind up in Pittsburgh. I think Kirk Cousins could wind up in Pittsburgh before Aaron Rodgers at this point.
Oh, interesting.
Because he's not committing. They have to make a decision here at some point. Somebody's going to make a move on Cousins. So and Ian's like, we need to get him with a team. I'm tired of talking about him. I go, no, I'd rather him be the guy that every time a quarterback stubs a toe during the season.
I agree.
They need to bring in Aaron Rodgers, which we did with Tom Brady. I didn't do that. We did with Tom Brady a couple of years ago. And I was like, did you guys watch Brady's last year with the Buccaneers? He's done. Shot completely. Aaron Rodgers is not shot to me. And in the right situation, it could be interesting, and it could be a nice little, hey, quarterback goes down. This team now still in playoff contention with Aaron Rodgers there.
Hey, do you think there's a last thing? You think there's any type of Penix pick this year? Wow, surprise.
And maybe it's, as in a quarterback with a team that already has one, or just
not
anything?
necessarily that, but along those lines.
No, because any other position really you could sell it. Like it's funny when I was talking to Giants folks on a podcast, Bob Papa's podcast, and he's the play-by-play guy.
Yeah, the eating and drinking one.
Yes, right. I just hate to mention other podcasts. I feel like
why? It's great. I just saw a clip for it. Yeah. I just saw a clip for it today. He was interviewing someone, and he was drinking wine and making homemade pizza. I'm like, what a great idea.
There you go.
I'm going to steal it.
Yeah, exactly. And not as a theme, just because you want to eat during your show.
Yeah, right.
We were talking about Abdul Carter.
Just a surprise. Yeah.
We were talking about Abdul Carter at the time, and he's like, well, but you got Brian Burns and Thibodeau. So what? Get another one.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm saying is it'd have to be a quarterback for that one, and it would have to be Sanders. And, maybe like I painted the Rams scenario, and you go, whoa, they got Matthew Stafford, and the Rams could easily be like, if he sits for another 3 years, we're totally fine with it, something like that. So it would have to be him. And I can't even, off the top of my head, think of other teams that, would potentially be in that. But it would have, and it's a Rodgers Favre type scenario. So we'll see. I want him to slide. I don't want the kid to slide. I want everything.
You want the drama.
You want the drama. Is going to be.
Of course.
You're not going to be able to look away.
All right. What do we got? What do we got planned for today? What's your schedule there on the NFL Network?
Got makeup in 10 minutes, which I'm going to have a hat line I get rid of now, so I'll take this off for the rest of the interview. We got makeup, and then 10 a.m. Pacific time, since I'm on Pacific time now, 10 a.m. to 1 Pacific, NFL Draft Kickoff, presented by Lexus? I think we're Lexus still.
I would figure it out. Hey, we're going to be...
Lexus just got a free drop there.
We'll be going. We're going to be going head to head at 10. I'm curious to see who gets better ratings.
Oh, screw you, man! I can't believe I contributed to this. 10 to 1 today and tomorrow as well. If you're going at 10 a.m., so 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. And then check me out Saturday morning when you're off. Hopefully you'll be awake. I think that's going to be 7 to 9 Pacific time Saturday morning before the draft.
All right, we'll be watching, Mike. Thanks as always, and have fun at the draft. Appreciate it.
All right, pal. You got it.
There he is, Mike Garafolo with us. We caught up with him early this morning. Why? Because if you flip on the NFL Network, he's on there right now, so we had to record him. So, just the two pieces of news there with the, three pieces of news there with the Seahawks. Number one, he would be stunned, at least what he has heard and who he has talked to. He'd be stunned if the Seahawks were, A, to trade down late in the first round, or in the second round, move up to early in the second or late in the first from their second round place to select Jalen Milroe. He would be stunned. Doesn't mean it won't happen or there's not something there. But again, he would just be stunned if that were to happen. Also on the Seahawks front, in regards to Ken Walker, there has been this just rumor out there about Ken Walker. I don't know if it's true or not true. So we just asked him about it. And as Mike said with us in regards to Ken Walker, he's heard it. And he says, listen, part of it depends on if they take a running back in this class. He says he thinks they have had conversations about it, about moving him, but don't think that they're trying to push him off. Don't think that they're actively, and I think he later said, they're not actively trying to trade him, but they've had conversations about moving him or listening to others. And again, I think, and here's the thing, we can all freak out about this. I think they have conversations about this stuff all the time. I think teams call about other players all the time, asking, hey, he's available. One thing that would just make the Walker thing interesting. One, if you draft a guy in this draft, it's a good running back class. He's under contract for one more year. Do you want to pay him? I mean, that's the other thing about it. Comes in, he's going to get paid if you want to retain him. Because you certainly, do you want to just let him walk in free agency with nothing, or are you going to pay him? And the one thing about Ken Walker, there's no doubt about his ability. There's zero doubt about Ken Walker's ability. But it's the availability hasn't been there. So I do think there's some. I think the next 3 days will be interesting on this front. See what they do there. But again, just to reiterate, it's not like they're actively trying to push him out. Just that they have been presented and have listened to some offers. All right, let's talk more about that storyline. And from the Seahawks perspective, he joins us every single week, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery and their brand new Tavern Beer, domestic style lager, which is wonderful, brewed by our good friends there at Georgetown Brewery. Ladies and gentlemen, number one Seahawks reporter voted on by the Bellevue Journal. And it's Michael-Shawn Dugar. Mike's like, really? I won that award?
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's the thing. Yeah.
I just made it up, Mike. But you know what? Mike, doesn't
resume.
It sound right? It sounds right.
Yeah. Hey, as long as it's number one, anything less than number one don't sound right. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Mike, how are you? Today's it's gonna be a busy. Well, not today, but the next few days will be a busy day for you and all your coverage over there at the Athletic, which you guys do just a great job with all the breakdowns and previews of the NFL draft. Also catch Mike's podcast with our good buddy Chris Kidd, the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. A lot of stuff up there, video, audio, previewing the draft. I'm sure they'll be doing stuff after the entire draft, maybe even after the first round. So we'll let Mike answer that for himself. Let's just start here first before we get into the draft here, specifically what you think that they'll do and all that. You probably heard me coming in there talking about Ken Walker with Mike Garafolo. There's been this rumor out there, and I'm like, I don't know if it's true or not. And so I asked Garafolo, hey, have you heard this? He said, yeah, we've heard that around. Do you think there's any legs to that? Could you see them, the idea of trading someone like Ken Walker because of this class of running backs?
I wouldn't say because of the class of running backs, just because they got an offer they couldn't refuse. I think that's having just, shameless plug, having just written a book about the Pete Carroll and John Schneider era, the franchise, Seattle Seahawks, dropping August 12th.
Where can we find that?
Everywhere books are sold is the line I'm supposed to give. But no, it's everywhere. Amazon is probably the simplest way, but Barnes and Noble, everything. Wherever books are sold. But anyway, I bring that up because you really look back at the era and a lot of how John Schneider operates. Pete's gone, obviously, but a lot of how John Schneider operates has not changed. They were taking calls on Russell Wilson.
Right.
When he was like prime Russell Wilson, they were taking calls on Richard Sherman. When he was a Pro Bowl, they were taking calls on on Earl Thomas, traded Michael Bennett, traded
Mhm.
Frank Clark after he had 13 and a half sacks or something like that, which is still the no one's cracked that number since then, for sacks that Frank hit in 2018. So I bring that all up to say, yeah, John will listen on whoever, and he's always said that too. It doesn't surprise me.
Mhm.
Like you can, especially, and he values relationships so much, so he doesn't want to hang up the phone on someone, dramatically like in the movies, especially when you have a flip phone, you close it on someone, there's the sound. It's super cool. John don't do that. So if you're his buddy and you're John Lynch, and you're like, hey man, well that's a bad example because he's in the
Yeah.
division. But let's say the Jaguars coach
Sure.
or the GM calls him Gladstone or whatever. It's like, hey man, how you feel about Ken? John's not gonna hang up on him. You can't do it dramatically anyway. I hang up with an iPhone, but he's just not gonna do it, because that's not how he gets down. And so does maybe something like that get told as like, oh yeah, interesting. That's how a rumor gets
Mhm.
started. I don't know.
Mhm. Mhm.
But nothing will ever surprise me, because I know how John gets down. If you get a new GM, then maybe. And that's not to say you don't love a guy. They love DK. They planned on having DK. That's it. They did not have to trade DK. He asked for a trade. They could have said no. See you April 22nd. They were like, hey, we like Pittsburgh's offer. It could be the same thing with Ken. It could be the same thing with Julian Love, Kobe Bryant, Reek, Boye, any of the quarterbacks, Sam Howell. Would be like, hey, we like this guy and he wants to be here, but such and such gave us an offer we can't refuse. So boom, FedEx stamp on your head. So no, I don't think any player is untouchable that way. It's all just about the return. They'll trade anybody if the return's fine.
Yeah. Well, it'd be fascinating because I think from just looking at it from the outside, depending on the class, and the class is, again, I'll go back to that, has been regarded as very good this year. That I could see how it would make a lot of sense, right? If you were to listen to offers and be serious about listening to offers, especially with him going in to the last year of his deal. And I think the organization just needs to ask themselves, like, I mean, do we want to sign him to an extension, or does he play out this last year? And certainly you don't want to let him just walk away in free agency and get nothing in return. No one wants to do that with Walker. I mean, and it's the struggle with it is, Mike, is that when he is on the field, there's a dynamic to him that very few backs have. Problem is with him at times, he's just not on the field enough.
Yeah. See, I think actually running back is probably the position, I would argue maybe tight end as well, where honestly, if you just find a guy and you run him into the ground is strong, but for lack of a better word, you run him into the ground for the duration of his rookie deal and then he walks, I think it's fine. Like I genuinely do. If Ken has 4 good seasons in Seattle and he walks in free agency and their running back one is Zach Charbonnet in 2026, I don't think that's a poor allocation of resources. I don't think you have to get rid of a running back early to make sure you get something for him. Whereas I do think maybe at other positions, it benefits you to get ahead of that, like because of the return you'll get. Like if you're not going to sign a Boye, for instance, a 25-year-old pass rusher who had 9.5 sacks or something like that, and you really want to try to maximize that, maybe that is a guy you punt on, draft another young pass rusher, and keep that cycle going. Maybe receiver, you could make that argument too with the rookie receivers that are hitting the ground running. If you're like, look, we know we're not going to pay George Pickens, so we can get him up out of here. Like if Pittsburgh did that, I wouldn't call Omar Khan, their GM, crazy. But running back, honestly, you get 4 years out of him and just draft another guy. I think I actually don't see. I don't think that's bad. Like GMing, honestly, if they were to do that, because also I can get a starting caliber back pretty much and literally in any round of the draft. We've seen the Seahawks and other teams get them literally from a first rounder to Rashad Penny to a 7th rounder and Chris Carson. You can and everything in between. So I think if you're like, we probably won't re-sign Ken, I'd be like, fine. 2025 Ken, let's give him 300 touches. Hopefully he gets to 1,300 yards. And let's kind of go into playoff games. And if he leaves, we got Zach, we got Kenny. And maybe in this draft, thinking that we take one of the kids from Ohio State this year and we keep it pushing.
Yeah. What do you think they're going to do tonight?
If I had to guess, I was telling somebody this yesterday. If I had to guess, like really put money on it, I won't. But actually, before I say it, shout out to my dad. I give my dad a shout out real quick. Puck, you'll appreciate this.
Yeah, of course.
So my dad, I kind of taught him how to. I think I mentioned this on the show before. I've taught him how to gamble. Because he would take me to the airport the last couple years to tell him what a parlay is, how over unders work, blah blah blah. Like the last few years, and so I go to see him the other day, He had his other hip replaced. So and I go there and I grab water out of the fridge and Puck, no lie, there's like 100 Muckleshoot water bottles in my dad's downstairs fridge. You know they're free, right? But even though they're free, it's not like you're grabbing 10 at a time, right? So that's a lot of trips to accumulate, and they're just everywhere. They're in his car, they're in his cooler, in his truck.
Love them.
They're in the fridge. I'm like, Dad, how often you been going to Muckleshoot? He's like, oh, I go every day.
Yeah, right. He does.
He said, I go every day. So if I was my dad and I was a gambling man, I would probably put some money on. A shout out to my dad. He's doing good, by the way.
Can we get your dad on? Like, you know what? During the next football season, let's just get your dad on during the segment and have him make picks. Like, what's your dad's name?
He would love that. Mike. My dad's name is Mike.
Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take Mike. Hey, Mike gets to come on. Mike's picks. And he gets to build his parlay that he's going to drive to the Muckleshoot. God, we're going to get the Muckleshoot to sponsor it.
Oh, we have to.
Perfect.
My dad would love that. He's on it. But if I was a gambler like him, it's killing him right now not to be able to go to the casino right now too because he can't walk. Right, he just had his hip replaced. If I was a gambler like him, I would probably put some money on taking a defensive player, mostly just because I think that if they're going to be best player available, and we should talk more about that. The best players are probably going to be on defense when they're on the clock. Not to say there'll be zero offensive players, but I feel like it'll be in abundance. I feel like the numbers will favor taking a linebacker, taking a defensive tackle. This is a good edge rushing class as well. I feel like it's a good DB class at the top as well. I feel like that if they're really true to that stance, I feel like you could justify taking pretty much any of the positions I just named. And I feel like those are the guys that'll be available. That will line up with like, oh, he's probably the highest graded player on our board. If we're just ignoring need to an extent, I feel like that would probably be where they go.
All right. Well, you wanted to expand on that best player available.
I think that best player available, I get why we just floated out there in the manner I just did, but I think something we have to keep in mind too is like, who's to say that these guys know who the best player available is? And that's where teams go wrong. It's not that you're necessarily drafting for need or you're drafting for best player available. It's like it's misidentifying who the best player available is. And I give there's some recent examples with this regime, and not their fault, but they thought they were getting the best pass rusher in the draft in 2012, and they took Bruce Irvin. They were wrong. It was, I believe, Chandler Jones by a mile in that class. In 2024, they thought they were getting the best defensive player in the class, Byron Murphy. For now, that was wrong. It's Jared Verse. It's probably Jared Verse. There's some other good rookies, but you get the point. They thought they were drafting the best wide receiver in the class in 2023. They were wrong. It's Puka. Now Jackson's very good, but it's Puka. And even for after the first year, it looked like it might be Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison above Jackson. Now it's probably more of a tie. I bring it all up to say that's honestly more important than whatever your strategy is like, where are you going wrong in identifying who the quote unquote best players are? Did you think Zach Charbonnet was better than some of the linemen that the Rams took in that 2023 draft? I think Kobe Turner, I think Byron Young were all guys drafted after Zach. Like, did you think they were better? Because if so, that's where our issue is. Not that you're drafting for need, because like Ken Walker is probably an objectively better player than Kobe Bryant, right? But Kobe plays a more valuable position, but they're in the same class. You took Ken higher because he's better. Cool. You identified that right. But I feel like if do we trust the people to identify, not just the Seahawks, every team to identify who the best player is? That's where teams I think run into the bigger problem. It's not whether you're drafting for need or whatever. It's like you might be just getting this wrong on who you think the best guy is right here.
Well, let's say they get into the situation at 18, just in a hypothetical, and it probably won't be the case. Let's say that they get the best offensive lineman who's there. Let's say it's Zabel, because that's just what everyone has mocked to them. And let's say there's the best available edge rusher, defensive player. What does your gut tell you which way that they would go on that one? Defense
I think specifically if it was the D-line, D-line. Because I think, and John's been kind of telling us this, again, nothing John does is really new. Like I just watched his 2017 Combine interview, and it sounds just like his radio show that he does, in present day. It's a lot of the same talking points. It's a lot of the same gripes about like not having an NFL Europe to develop young quarterbacks. Like he's saying all of the same stuff, not because he's a politician. This is what he believes, and it hasn't changed. But he's also been subtly telling us how much he values D-line, because of how disruptive those guys can be and how hard they are to find. You look at the best edge rushers, the best interior D linemen, they're usually first and second round picks. So I think, yeah, if you had to break a tie there, my guess would be D line, because John would probably feel like I can get a starting guard with pick 82, and he's not wrong. It's the identifying which guard to take at 82. That's where he's gone wrong. It's not that you're wrong thinking I can wait and use pick 52 on a guard or a center. You can, but are you taking Creed Humphrey or are you taking D. Eskridge, in 2021? Or are you taking Stone Forsythe? Or are you taking Trey Smith, who was in that 2021 class as well? Right. So I think that's their issue. It's not that he's valuing his process is fine. It's just like how you're getting to who should be taken is the issue. But I think he would break a tie with defense.
Do you think there's a preference for him to try and want to move down? Garafolo just told me earlier that there's a lot of teams in that 20 range. There's a handful of teams in the 20 to 26, 27 that want to move up. I mean, we know it. You've been covering him long enough. Everybody knows this. He loves to just acquire more and more picks, and he loves trading down. So that shouldn't surprise anyone if that's what happens later tonight.
Oh, absolutely. And I asked John about, because he said at the owners' meetings that the compensation for trading down has lessened in recent years, and you can kind of look at and seeing what teams are dipping into future picks now because teams are they have this stronghold on their present day picks.
Right.
And I asked him why is that, and he said because teams now he basically said the nerds broke the trade value charts. Essentially, he said with analytics, people are valuing they value their picks a little bit differently, and you can read that as they value them more now. But I still think that John's gonna try it. Just because the value has changed doesn't mean there's no value at all. So I think in my last mock, I had him calling Green Bay. His buddy Gutekunst, I think that's how you say his name, calls him. Give me pick 23. Give me pick. I think they have like 87. And we move back. I could easily see that. And I actually, if you want to take a step further, I could see Green Bay doing that and taking a DB. You know what happened the last time the Seahawks had the 18th pick? They traded it to the Packers for pick 27. The Packers took Jair Alexander. What do they need right now? A Jair Alexander replacement because they're about to trade him. Time's a flat circle. So yeah, I think John's going to be on the phone, and I think that John probably has from like pick 13 to pick 55 pretty similar guys, all graded. And if that's your case, if I move back from 18 to 23, even if I pick up just an extra 4th round pick, I get the guy I would have took at 23, or excuse me, I would have took at 18. Yeah, let's rock and roll. I can,
especially when we've talked.
I probably guessed that happening, to be honest.
Sorry, I'm stepping all over you. My apologies. It's especially we've talked about this before. It's not just this draft of like blue chippers.
Yeah, it's good. There's good players. I think there are some guys who can like legitimately, if you use them right, really change your team. If you have like some other pieces in place, I don't think there's anyone who's just like, okay, now you have an elite secondary because you drafted him, But I do think there's a lot of guys, particularly for the Seahawks on defense. That's why I could see John and Mike doing that is if we just added such and such to the good players we already have. Like we're not trying to just have him be the great player on a bad unit. We're having to just be a good player on an already good unit. That's really enticing as well. An example I could say is I think his first name is Jade Barron, the DB from Texas. He can play nickel, play outside. You just plug him in there. Your DB room, which is already good, now it's just like, damn, now he's scary, potentially. Same thing with some of these interior defensive linemen. I'm like, go plug Walter Nolan, the tackle from Ole Miss. Plug him in there next to Jay Reed, Leo, and Murph. And we just took a really good unit and made it elite, maybe. I that's so enticing to me just saying it now that I could easily see John thinking the same way.
And what's going to be interesting too is, and it's not like we haven't discussed this before leading up to the draft, but we focused a lot on the offensive line, right? For good reason. But I think this ongoing situation that they have with Reek Woolen, the on and off nature of it, is like, when do they decide? And I think it probably gives you a good indication. They go high on a corner. I think that's going to give you a window on what they think they're going to do in the future.
I think is layered by draft or by round. If you take a first round corner, yes, that is a like straight up, hey yo, Reek, Josh Jobe, we looking at you. Not just Reek, I think Josh. Second is more like it's almost like a warning. It's like getting pulled over for a ticket. It's like, all right, I'm pulling you over and giving you a warning if I take a corner in the second or third round.
Yeah.
If I take one in the first, you have a court date. That's the different way. That's probably
What's
how you
the third round?
look at it. The third round is
What's
probably
that?
is me giving you a lecture about driving fast in a school
Okay.
zone or something like that. Just a
Okay.
long. I don't know if you've been pulled over and the talk is real long. Like sometimes
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
short, yeah. But sometimes it's like, dude, you're not holier than thou, dude, on your bicycle and your shades, man. Like you can't talk down to me because I'm going. I got pulled over once for going 27 and a 20, but the school zone lights were on, right? So it's a
Yeah,
$180
they'll get you on the
ticket,
school zone lights,
Oh,
man.
it got
Once
me
those are going,
bad.
you're done.
Yeah, it got I was in college too, and I got $188 ticket for going
Oh,
27 into
yeah.
20, But I think that's how the way to look at it for the corner
Okay.
with Reed, because John views it that way too. Is if he drafts you in the first round, he expects you to be a starter. That's what
Yeah.
he expects. I don't know concretely what he expects as you drop rounds, but I imagine that in the second and third round, now you're looking at pushing the guys who already hold that spot. Not with the expectation that they should beat them out, but now I at least want you to push a Reek. Or if I take an edge rusher, I want you to push a D Hall, a Boye, Chenna, Tank, any of those guys in the second and third rounds. Fourth round is, and then beyond, is probably just can you play special teams or not.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. And then also, just how much more influence will Mike Macdonald have this year?
That's another reason why I predict a breaking a tie on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, defensive coach. Let's say Mike don't care about offense, but I mean that's the side. That's also the side I would imagine, depending on his relationship with Clint Kubiak, that if you see a flaw in a guy that's not like character, that's just like technical or whatever, that if you're Mike Macdonald, you probably are going to give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Like, I can fix that easier than like, okay, Clint has to fix that. Like say, kid has bad hand placement as a guard or something like that. You're Mike Macdonald. Okay, I do trust John Benton and Clint Kubiak to fix that. But it's like, okay, let's say this linebacker has a problem shedding blocks or whatever. I know I can get my hands on this kid. It's like Pete with the DBs. Pete could see a flawed DB and like, I know you give me this kid, give me a little bit, I will get this kid right at DB. Where Pete, he had to defer to Tom Cable for that if a guy had some issues on the O-line. And I think we're kind of in a similar space with that. I mean, it took Jermaine Ifedi either way, so it's not that doesn't mean you can't take alignment, but you get what I'm saying.
Quarterback, yay or nay this year?
Ooh, Puck, I'm a real wet blanket on the quarterbacks.
On just all of them, I mean, come on, these guys that are going to be the first round this year would never be first round quarterbacks.
And I was able to get my hands on some film. It's getting harder for college film. It's weird. But anyway, I was able to get my hands on some. I watched at least, not a huge sample size, but at least 3 games of all the guys.
Okay.
So Sheduer, Milroe, Shuck, the Louisville kid. Like I've watched at least 3 of everyone, and I try to watch games later in the year because I tend to feel like that's a little bit better of an example of like versus you playing week 3 against Wyoming or something like that. If you're in the Big Ten or whatever. So there are guys I like in the second round, or excuse me, not the second round, on day 2 in the back of the third, you're like, let's roll the dice on this Tyler Shuck kid, Louisville guy. He's got some stuff to him, Puck. He does. He's got a strong arm. He can move really well for a guy who's had a million season-ending injuries. He's good at changing his arm angles, does that Matt Stafford, Lamar Jackson thing where if the D tackle's in his face, he'll just drop it to like a pitcher throwing or a shortstop throwing somebody out and he won't lose accuracy. I love stuff like that. Like it's the problem solving without being a runner.
Yeah.
I really like that. I would like him to be better decision maker. For someone who's already older than Sam Howell or the same age as Sam Howell, like that's a problem for me. But sure, if I had to take a guy, roll the dice on him. And if you get on day 3, I like more guys. I can see the Will Howard thing. He's just a gamer. Sometimes I just really like gamers. Like Baker Mayfield falls into this for me. Will Levis is a gamer. And gamer doesn't even always have to be like it's almost like an aesthetic. Like I saw Baker Mayfield headbutt a guy when the dude had a helmet on, Baker didn't. Baker's just kind of one of those football-y meathead guys.
And you think Howard falls into that category?
Will plays like that. I don't know him personally. I do think he's actually being trained by Jake Heaps though for a Seattle connection.
Oh, really?
Yes, I believe Jake's part of the people doing his pre-draft.
Oh, nice.
Stuff. So there's a little bit of Seattle connection there. So. I like his game. He was really accurate. He just had a good feel for what Chip Kelly was asking him to do.
Yeah.
Like you could tell he understand. Like, okay, if Jeremiah Smith not open, which was rare, I know Ibuka is probably going to be open. I just hit it to him, and we don't take a negative play. Like he really understood what was going on. And the Syracuse kid just has a rocket of an arm. Doesn't move much, but I could see someone in the Shanahan tree. Or like if Green Bay or the Rams took Kyle McCord, like he's not super mobile. It's like Jared Goff, who's like, I can stand here and I can throw this laser. So that would probably be it. I'm not high on Jackson Dart. I just someone would have to talk me into Milroe. I just can't do it. I don't
so
know.
I'm interested in it because
I'm struggling there.
That's kind of been a thing, right? Lately has been this. He's invited there, right?
He's going. I think Jackson Dart pulled out, but Jalen and Cam Ward are there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so he may have an indication he's going to get selected. There's been this talk about late first round, maybe early second. There's been a Seattle connection, perhaps.
Yeah, I think he visited.
So what do you think, though? I mean, because it all the way that people lay it out, it all I buy into it. I'm like, yeah, I get it. There's the combo of Lamar Jackson with Cam Newton. If he were to be able to sit for a year or two, it might be good for him. He does fit the intangibles that certainly when you've seen John Schneider scout other quarterbacks, I guess other than Russell Wilson, he fits that big, fast, athletic, big arm. Certainly has some things to work on, so you can see it all, and then the Mike McDonald connection with Baltimore and what they did with Lamar when he first came in and all that. But you're not buying it.
So here's my issue. One of my issues is I like accurate quarterbacks. I thought that was probably one of the few things me and Mike Leach agreed on. Like he was kind of very much like you're either accurate or you're not type of thing, and you can improve it to a degree, but I'm with Mike Leach. Rest in peace.
You kind of have to have it.
Yeah, because it's an anticipation thing. It's a processing thing, and you could see when I watch Jalen, and I can see why he's probably nailing interviews, which is probably why he's climbing. Because I would love to talk to him and Tyler Shuck too. Because Shuck, I just want to show him like 10 plays and be like, "What were you thinking?" That's it. Just like walk me through it. If you give me a good answer, I'll draft you. If not, cool. We'll valet your parking. But like with Milroe, I would want to know like, okay, what are you seeing here? Because he seems like you could see this on some of his draft combine throws too. He was kind of accurate there, but you could tell he was later than the other guys. And whereas at the combine, one of the issues with throwing there is because you don't know the guys, you haven't practiced with them. So when you're trying to throw it in anticipation, you see balls go over the place. Jalen looked like, and I'd love to ask him this, he looked like he was waiting until the guy made the break or the cut or whatever, then he'd throw it to make sure it got there. And it was just like, was he doing that? And he did that a little on tape too. So it's like,
that's kind of that was the knock on him at Alabama too, wasn't it not?
Yeah, and so like I said, it's on his tape too. So I'm like, okay, I would love to just sit down and talk to him, which is probably why he's getting so many visits. Like, okay, are you doing that because you're processing late, or were you maybe coached for that, or what? Because if you're just I gotta see it before I throw it guy, you won't last a year. You just won't. The windows are too small. The DBs are too good. You're done. But if it's more of just like maybe something that had to be coached out of him that was coached into him, or the scheme, I don't know, maybe Kalen DeBoer would know a little bit better. I would love to know that. But until I know that, I'm just assuming he's processing slow. And if you ask me to put him in a Kubiak offense or a Shanahan offense or whatever, you do that, you're done. You everything needs to be on time. You need to be able to throw on the move. You need to be able to process really fast. I need you to be accurate when you're processing fast. It's like if you're not doing that, you're done. It's particularly in this offense. You put him in the Eagles offense maybe from 2022 where you're just throwing screens or go balls to AJ Green and nothing else, then sure, do that. Philly wants him, go ahead. But I just don't see it in Seattle. It's just a hard sell for me because of that processing thing.
Yeah, okay.
It sounds like he's nailing the interviews too, though.
Well, so I mean, he's got everything that you want your daughter to date him.
I think he's a military kid, right?
He's a military kid. Both parents were in the military.
Yeah.
So he's got that background. He won the academic Heisman. Like he's just like you bring him home and you're like, thank God you met someone like this, not some idiot. So
and you know what? There's something to that, Puck. Honestly, at quarterback, that's probably where I care about your character the most.
Well, you want a leader.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need you to lead if you're my nose tackle. Like, I just need you to be a nose tackle. I don't even need you to lead if you're a receiver or a left tackle. I just need you to ball.
I think that's the issue that some probably have with Sanders. I get it. I mean, I just think that you look at Sanders and you're like, well, what am I getting? Am I going to get someone that's all in, that can lead? Or
You know what?
am I going to get the distraction of Dion? But I'll say this about Sheduer. When I watch him, I'm not no scout. I'm just a fan of football. I mean, I've watched him a ton, and I like what he's on the field, but I don't know what he's like behind the scenes. I have no idea.
I think I actually like Sheduer a little bit more than the other quarterbacks I just named. I just really accurate, even though he was throwing a lot of screens and stuff.
Sure,
but it's also he gets criticized for taking a lot of sacks and not getting the ball out, but then he'll get dinged on his accuracy thing because he was just throwing a lot of screens. It's like, well, can't be both. Like, there's only so many ways to get the ball out. The other team has tape too,
Yeah.
But what I do like about what what probably happened in a lot of his interviews, Puck, because I've heard behind the scenes he's just bombing some of these.
Yeah.
You know what probably happened in there is he went in there believing, and like some high prospects probably do, you guys need me as much as I need you, and probably express that in not so subtle ways.
That way, though,
because you can see it in his even the showcase Colorado thing, or even when he's at the combine, he's like, look how many programs I've changed. If you don't take me, you are making them. You're dumb. I think he's like, if you don't take me, that's stupid. He said that on NFL Network. Yeah, he probably told the Browns the same thing. It's like, if you don't take me, you guys are making a huge mistake, and then that can come off a certain way. Then your dad's a Sanders. But yeah, and I imagine there's other prospects who have felt that as well. Like, if you don't take me, you're an idiot. But there's a difference between feeling that way versus putting on a face in the interview. It doesn't seem like Sheduer has a face. He kind of reminds me of Marshawn Lynch a little bit. Like, whenever you sit down and talk to Marshawn, whether you're Dr. Fauci or you're some guys outside of a liquor store in Oakland, you're getting the same Marshawn. That's probably Sheduer. He probably doesn't have a job interview code switch. It's like, yo, I'm the best quarterback. You don't take me, that's on you. I don't need you to take me. And then if you tell Brian Daboll that, he'll probably knock you off the list. Probably not going to take you. And I could see that probably has nothing to do with his ability, but that is how you can come off. You see the words that is used, arrogant, or like I think some report Todd McShay was like, one team told him Sheduer act like he didn't even want to be there. Yeah, I can see exactly how you get there. Giants sit you down, you're like, you guys need me. You guys suck. You're picking third. You shouldn't say that, but I can easily see if that was how his interviews went.
All right, rest up. I know the next few days are going to be very busy for you. Lay it out. What do you got planned on the website? What do you got planned on the podcast?
Our beat writer, you mentioned how much we got to do. I got a Google Doc with all the beat writer obligations for everyone. It's it's 2 sheets. It's a lot. I got a big board up now on the Athletic with like 53 prospects for multiple for each round, or each day of the draft, excuse me. And then I have my most recent mock. I have to do I'll have something on every prospect right when it happens, when they're drafted, at least through the first 3 rounds. Then I'll have a day of after we talk to Mike and John, new story on that. Every day I'm updating that big board. So it's got 53 names on it. Let's say 25 come off the board, re-update that. I'll do that after day 2 as well. Then after that, I'm writing on every pick on day 3, I believe. Or maybe it's just quarterbacks on day 3. But then I'm doing something on the draft right after it's done on day 3. Then another story after what the roster looks like after they get their picks. Maybe even a column in there. They're working us for sure. So yes, today I went to the movies last night. It was date night. Got that in with the wife because she's not going to see me for the next 3 days, pretty much.
What did we see?
Saw Sinners. Saw the vampire Michael B. Jordan.
Okay, now the previews look great.
It is a very good movie. It's a very it's how I would make a movie these days, and this is going to sound silly because I'm a writer, but I would probably sacrifice plot fluidity or consistency with just making it look good visually. And just like having scenes where the actors are strong and like close-ups and camera work that is nice. A couple things blow up, some deaths, some monologues, so we can win some awards. If I do that at the and some musical numbers in there, if I do that at the sacrifice of like plot consistency or fluidity, which happened here and happens in a lot of movies,
you're like Siskel and Ebert over here.
I would do that because I feel like I want you to be entertained.
Yeah, ultimately. That's why I go to the movies. I want to be entertained.
Exactly. And it costs an arm and a leg to get there. I got a medium popcorn. It was like $11.
Yeah, you can't do that. Bring in your own, man.
Yeah, so if it's gonna be an arm and a leg, and Ryan Coogler, the director, is asking people to see it in like 40x and 70, all these other, aspect ratios that cost $1 million. All right, Ryan, if I'm gonna do that, this better be a kick-ass visual. The plot can kind of be whatever, but it better look cool as shit. And that movie does look very.
Okay.
It looks. It's visually appealing. It's made for people to feel something in the theater. Now, if you sit down and analyze the plot when you get home in the car, you're probably like, okay, this didn't add up, but who cares? It looked cool. And there was
I'm in. All right. We'll be following along, Mike. Appreciate it. And we'll catch up and recap it next week.
All right. Thanks for having me. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs. There he is. Michael-Shawn Dugar from the Athletic, all brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, Georgetown's new tavern beer. Go check it out today. Georgetown's Tavern Beer, a domestic style lager, all brewed by our good friends there at Georgetown Brewery. It's easy drinking lager, made with Pacific Northwest barley and Yakima Valley hops. And they also continue to sponsor all of our NFL draft coverage, and it continues right now with Danny Kelly from The Ringer, all brought to you, again, our NFL draft coverage by Georgetown Brewery. You can follow Danny on Twitter and Blue Sky. Danny B. Kelly, senior staff writer, Ringer NFL Draft Show. Just had the live show. Was it yesterday or the day before?
Tuesday.
How did the live podcast show go? Was that the first time you did a live show in front of an audience?
No, I think this is number 5 for us. So, so it went really well. It was super fun. Chicago had a great crowd. We got to we used some props in this show. So we had we played this game called the Dickhead Mock Draft.
Wonderful. Where
one person was thinking with their dick, the other person was thinking with their head, their brain. So that was fun.
Phenomenal idea. Just a phenomenal idea.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. Always fun to go and get to meet people that listen to your show. So that was.
Is it weird to do it live, because when you record something like this, you don't see anyone. There is no audience.
Yes.
You don't even know if anyone is watching or really listening to this.
Right.
And then you go out and you look out and there's hundreds and thousands of people out there, and you're like, oh wow.
It's surreal. It's bizarre. It's like, because like you said, when we're recording our shows, it's like sometimes you feel like you're just screaming into the void. Is this thing even plugged in? I don't know if anyone's listening. And then you see, you could make eye contact with someone in the crowd. It's like, whoa, kind of odd. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun though. And I honestly, doing some of the bits and stuff with the live audience is great, because then they get into it, they're screaming out.
You get feedback.
Yeah, exactly. So it was great. It was super fun.
Okay, good. All right, well, here it is. We're hours and hours away from it getting underway. What do you guys got planned? What are you doing yourself?
So I'm doing live first round grades for every pick.
Okay.
So that's the big one during the first round of the draft. And after the draft, we're going to record our podcast, do our first round recap, basically reaction. Day 2, I start writing. Wait, hold on. Day 2, we do a podcast again on Friday after everything's done. And then day 3, I write full draft grades for every team following the completion of the draft. So yeah.
So where do they watch you tonight when you're doing these live draft grades?
I don't think we're not live.
Okay.
We are. You can't watch me do the live grades, but it'll be up at theringer.com. It'll be on my draft guide. So NFLdraft.theringer.com. So you can follow along live, but you're not going to get to watch me doing my writing.
God, that'd be great. I think you should have a separate camera in there watching
just the feed.
And then pounding the keyboard as loud as Bob Condotta pounds the keyboard. He's breaking the name.
I actually write them all on a typewriter. I'm old school. Then we scan them, send them in.
Shut up. Do you think there's anyone that knows what a typewriter is anymore? God,
Do you remember how to use one? You remember the days where you had to go back and delete, or you'd have to delete something? And I don't know exactly how it worked.
You had to strike it. There was a line you could strike it.
And then it would add in a little.
Yeah, but I think on the old school typewriter, you had the whiteout.
Right. You'd have to
white out and go over it
up. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I do like the sound of
good old
typewriter
days.
Though.
Yeah.
I do. And then it was the processor that was kind of like wasn't it the hybrid of the computer / typewriter thing? Yeah.
The paper with the holes on the side.
Wait, you had to pull off the holes? I don't think people realize the type of shit we had to go through when we were younger. It's not easy anymore. Like you have like these people now. Hey, Chat GP, write me up a report on the World War II.
Yeah. The World War II. Is that
the World War II? It's just World War II.
It's great. I feel very lucky, and I think you're kind of right in this boat too, of like straddling the digital age and the analog age. Like we got to experience literally both. We were the last group of people that got to experience sort of the analog age while we were almost adults. Because I think I didn't really get like a cell phone until college.
I didn't have cell phone until college.
Yeah, so. Anyways,
and it was a flip phone. Well, whatever that was.
I know the old days.
I am so old that when we were in college, like you're editing audio, right? Now we do it all digitally. I had to cut the audio. It. It was like a movie film, and you would splice it and then paste it together. That's how you used to do it. I mean, Jesus. God, we're really aging ourselves. Not back in our day.
Times change.
All right. So what do you think they do tonight? What's your gut tell you the Seahawks at 18?
So to be honest, I put Jahad Campbell for my pick in the mock draft, but I had to submit that 2 days ago, and now I think it's going to be Gray Zabel. So that's probably going to be wrong. But I think a lot of people are kind of like the Gray Zabel buzz is really building. If he doesn't go before that, I think I've seen a couple of mock drafts that have him going. Someone put him to 11 to the 49ers. So
I've seen the Bengals, I've seen the Cardinals.
Yeah. So I don't know, but to me, it just makes so much sense. Like if you connect the dots, the Seahawks always like these gritty guys, the guys that kind of, and he has a lot of experience. He plays multiple positions. And most importantly, he was really good at the Senior Bowl, which has always been a big indicator for the Seahawks. I think they take that really seriously. Obviously, Jim Nagy being the director of the Senior Bowl, he's a former guy on the Seahawks scouting staff. He knows John Schneider very well, I'm sure. I'm assuming they're good friends. So I think he listens to his feedback a lot too. So yeah, I think I don't know. Just all signs point to Gray Zabel. I would be happy with the pick, but if he's still there, I think there's actually a chance he goes higher than that now.
Absolutely, and then I'd be interesting if he does go before they pick there at 18. Do they keep it or they trade down? I just got a feeling, and it's nothing. No breaking news because he trades down he trades down all the time. But just kind of feels like this is going to be another trade or another draft year where he's going to try and move down as fast as he can.
I may have been looking at a fake news thing, but I believe Daniel Jeremiah's final mock had the Seahawks trading out of
with
18.
the Giants.
And so DJ, he always says that's what he's hearing in these mock drafts. Like his rankings are what he thinks, and then his mocks are what he's hearing. So. Right. There's a little smoke there. I think that's an interesting thing to kind of keep in mind. Like you said, the Seahawks love to trade back. And I think especially in a draft like this where it's just flat, like after you get past the 8-9 guys or something like that, I think it's like there's going to be grades that are very similar from 10 to 40 or whatever. You know what I mean? Absolutely. And I think they're going to look at that as an opportunity to get some value. So,
makes a lot of sense.
It would not surprise me.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that they were going to trade down. I just can't wait for. I was talking to Garafolo about this earlier, and he and I both agree. I mean, listen, we love this, but there's an entertainment factor to it, and it's this whole thing's built for television, so you want drama, the whole build up, and so we were saying. And he's like, I don't wish any ill will towards anyone, and he's going to get drafted. But he goes, I do want to see Sheduer Sanders slide.
Right.
Because
they want the shots of him in the green room or whatever.
Yeah, because it just makes for theater. And he's right. And clearly one of the biggest, the first hurdles or obstacles will be at number 3. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't think the Giants are going to take him at number 3. And then, then it starts the process. Where does he go? How far does he fall? You've got all these executives. What's interesting about the Pelissero report, that they gained all the headlines is if you go and read Tom's, report on all the quarterbacks, there are a number, I don't know how many executives he talked to on the Sanders one specifically. I think it's like 6, 5 or 6. 4 of them like him. Right. It was just the one guy that grabbed all the headlines. And I know that's what we do in this business, in this society we live in. We just grab the one that's most salacious. But there were 4 other ones that said, no, I actually like him. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be a good quarterback in the right system. So, I mean, there's that too.
Yeah. But what does that mean? Like, does that mean on day 1? Or does that mean take him and develop him out early day 2?
I don't know.
Trade back into the first, grab him late in the first. I ended up putting him out of the first round. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I don't feel strongly that he's not going to go in the first round. I just kind of was like, after you get past, the Saints at 9, there's not like that many teams in that little cluster below him that need a quarterback at this point. And so you could see him falling quite a bit. And then if teams aren't super, convicted that he's going to be the guy, like trading up is expensive. So, maybe they don't trade up into the first round. I don't know. It's going to be very, very interesting. He's obviously one of the main guys to watch.
He's very polarizing. I mean, he's extremely, extremely polarizing. I mean, it's the whole thing with his dad. I think the way at times he can carry himself on and off the field a little bit.
Yeah.
I think there's a great skill set to him. I mean, he doesn't have the most powerful arm in the world, but I guess I ask any evaluator, I think I know what they would say, but what would you trade? Do you want the big, powerful arm that's inaccurate, or do you want the accurate arm that is not so powerful? I think they would all say they'd want the accurate arm.
I would say coaches want the accurate guy. Scouts want the Superman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it depends on where the GM kind of falls on that. I think there's always like scouts are trained, and I think there's just generally speaking a sort of lean for this is like you scout traits, you scout potential, you don't scout production. Whereas coaches come in and are like, I'm gonna have to freaking coach this guy. I'm gonna be responsible. Like my job is the one that's on the line. I don't want to have to wait 2 years for this guy to learn how to throw a football. So it's always like this tension between upside and potential, because like if you look in the NFL, the teams that are competing every single year in and year out, always going to be competitors, are the ones with the Superman quarterbacks. It's like it just buys you so much leverage and so much leeway if you hit that guy. But obviously, and this is like, you see this every year, sort of like guys moving around the board. It's because coaches come in late in the process, start giving their opinions. Then that starts to kind of like leak out. They're talking to people all the time. Coaches love talking to people. Maybe not as tight-lipped as some of the scouts. And so you start to hear all these different reports, and they're very different from what you kind of heard before. So that's kind of that's the fun of the draft sort of cycle is late in the draft cycle, you get coaches involved, and then things start to kind of like shift and change.
And then what you just said, though, describing how scouts view quarterbacks is what you would describe Milroe.
Right.
Exactly. And I think he's just a fascinating prospect tonight. He's actually there.
Is he for sure going? I was like waiting to see if he was going to pull his, invite.
Well, last I saw that he's there.
Mm-hmm.
So he must
super intriguing.
Feel pretty good that he's going to be selected. I mean, or that's going to be.
I would think his agent would be plugged into where teams see him, how high he's going to go. If he's not going to go in the first round, if I'm his agent, I'm like, dude, just don't go. Like, it's only going to make you look bad, because we were talking about with Sheduer. It's like they're going to make a huge deal out of the guys that are sitting there in the green room as you get towards the late 20s of the pick, late in the evening. Sure. They're going to start just focusing in on you every time. And like, how sad is this guy? We want to see how sad he is. We want to see him crying. We want to see his girlfriend, whatever.
But that makes for entertainment. That's why they probably want him there.
Yeah. Like the NFL wants him there. If I'm his agent, I'm like, if I have any doubt, I'm like, dude, don't go to the draft, because it's just going to be a debacle. It's like what we saw with Will Levis last year, 2 years ago. And so, was it last year? God, it was.
Levis was 2 years ago, wasn't he? I don't know. Now, you know what? I don't know. I don't know. Someone's going to correct us. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But anyway, I think. Let's see here, big boy. Yeah.
You think he's
Levis was 2 years ago?
Yeah. Do you think Milroe's so there's been this thought. If he falls, would the Seahawks be one of the teams that would be willing to at least move back in late in the first round, or from their second round position, move back into the late first? That would be the most likely scenario, right? They go from the second round, move up, maybe even early second, or late first, and take them.
Yeah. And of course, there's always the fifth round option thing. I feel like with him, fifth round option isn't like that big of a deal, because you're very much just taking a stab on a guy who's like very athletic, has incredible traits.
Sure.
And I think you could figure it out earlier than 4 years whether he's going to have the ability to kind of like become more accurate and things like that. So I don't know if it really makes that big of a difference to teams or not, but there is that element where if you trade into the late first round, you get that 5th-year option. And some teams might see that as like a big deal, but I can see the Seahawks liking him though. I mean, he's obviously extremely, extremely athletic. Everything you've heard from this pre-draft process, I've not heard one person say anything bad about him from a personality work ethic and he wants to be great. He wants to learn. He does all the right things in terms of work ethic and want to and love of football. And those things are not just trivial. I know it kind of sounds like a cliche when you talk about that stuff. It's like quarterback is the hardest position in sports. And if you don't have that, unless you're like a absolute freaking stud, that like you're not going to make it in the NFL. If you don't have that, you're not going to make it in the NFL. And so, that's why teams pay attention to it so much, especially at quarterback, because it requires, players to go above and beyond, be the first guy in, all the cliches you could think of, first guy in, last guy out, leadership, all that stuff. It does matter because that position is so difficult. So I don't know. I'm very interested in him. I think of all the sort of like 2nd-tier quarterbacks in this class, I most want Milroe just because I think the upside is so much higher than the other guys.
Who's Danny Kelly's favorite player? And he doesn't even have to be the best player.
Favorite player?
Who's just Danny Kelly's like this is Danny Kelly's A-list player. I'm having him over for dinner with the family.
Oh man. There's a lot of guys to choose from. I would say I really like Travion Henderson from Ohio State.
I love him.
He's another guy that
I don't understand why he's not like up way more.
I think it's because the way that they utilized him at Ohio State, especially this last year, he was sort of a complimentary back. He wasn't even like really the lead back in that offense. And I think there's definitely some validity to that. Like, if you're taking a guy in the first round, it should be like a Bijan Robinson where you can play him in all 3 downs, all that stuff. But that being said, I still think Travion Henderson has an opportunity to come into the NFL and be extremely, extremely useful. Explosive athlete, extremely twitchy, great acceleration, long speed, home run speed. He's great in pass pro, so the coaches are going to trust him immediately. I think I was listening to Maurice Jones-Drew on a podcast the other day, and he's like, coaches are absolutely going to love this guy. And this is what I was just talking about, where coaches get involved late in the process because they can put him in day one and know he's going to protect the quarterback. Is there anything more important from a running back really than stepping in there on 3rd down and stonewalling a dude, putting a dude on his ass, is blitzing and trying to hit the quarterback? That kind of stuff is so important. Obviously, running backs in the passing game, extremely important in this day and age. Obviously, the number one job of a running back is to pick up extra yards where there are none. And I think he's pretty elusive. He's not like a big tackle breaker, but he's so fast. I think he has that elusiveness.
Just watch the Rose Bowl again.
Yeah.
It's electric.
So I think like explosive plays on the ground, and I guess just from the running back in the passing game are huge. Like being able to get explosive plays is such a cheat code. And Pete Carroll talked about this for years. It's like if you look at the drives that end in scores, if you get an explosive play on any given drive, it increases your odds of scoring so much. It's like a key. You just want to get explosive plays. So I think he provides that. And like I said, pass pro, and he's like Jalen Milroe. Everything you hear about him is everyone in the Ohio State program loved him. Just a coach, a very coachable, teammate oriented guy, like just cares about winning, works really hard. Yeah. He's not like a diva. So I don't know. I just feel like he has a high floor in the NFL. So I really like him.
What are you serving when you have him over? Are we going out or are we making something for him, Danny? Huh? What are we
ordering? I'm ordering in pizza, maybe, I don't
pizza.
know.
Well, what kind of pizza you guys got up there? What's the number one pizza?
Oh, there's a number of pizza places up here. Oven's really good.
Let me guess, a lot of vegetarian pizzas up there.
Oh yeah, a lot of mushrooms.
Jesus.
A lot of granola. You put granola on pizza.
Yeah, I bet you some idiot ass put granola up there on it. You guys ever tried this homemade granola put up there?
But yeah, pizza places up here. Oven, La Fiamma, Storia Cucina, Tom Tom, Tam Tam. I mean,
Tam Tam.
There's some really good ones. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna reach out to Travion's people.
Okay. Sounds great.
Get you up there. Get him up there to sit down there with the Kelly family and have dinner. All right. We'll be watching. We'll be following along. Go to plug it one more time when you do the immediate draft grades, please.
NFLdraft.theringer.com is where you can find my draft guide, or just go to the Ringer. It'll be up front and center, I imagine. But yeah, doing those live throughout the first round. And then we're going to record the pod. So check out the pod wherever you get your podcasts, the Ringer NFL Draft Show.
Thank you, Danny. And then next week, we get just a bitch and moan about what they did.
Yep.
My favorite.
Cannot wait.
All right, see you, buddy.
All right, see you, man.
There he is, Danny Kelly from The Ringer. Please follow him on social media, Danny B. Kelly. Read all work, again, at The Ringer. Just go to The Ringer. You will see a link there when you go to the NFL page that will take you to where he will be doing his draft grades. It's one of the most fun nights in sports, and we make too much of it, and you can argue there's too much of a buildup to it. Let's just get to it, but when that thing goes off at 5 o'clock and it starts and he comes out there and he gets booed and he goes, tonight, all right, we're starting the 2025 NFL draft and the Tennessee Titans are on the clock. It's just fun. It's fun to break it all down. It's fun to watch people be right about their picks and celebrate it. It's fun for people to be wrong about their picks and all of it. And then the buildup, especially when you're a team like Seattle at 18, the buildup to it all. And what's going to happen, and it's just fun. It's fun, all that. All right, great stuff today from all of our guests. Big thanks to Mike Garafolo jumping on earlier today. That will be up later if you want to watch or listen to it again. Also, big thanks to Michael-Shawn Dugar and Danny Kelly right there. All right, Daily Puck Drop, as we wrap it up, we got to wrap up with Hey, What the Puck, which is brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. It's your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when these damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. I do believe this is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, drafts for John Schneider. And for the reason being, they did not address the offensive line in free agency. And for whatever reason, whether it was Drew Dahlman was always going to go to the Chicago Bears, or Will Fries just, hey, we're not going to give you 5 years if you don't come in and let us take a look at you health-wise. Okay, fine. They made one move in the offseason, and that one move in the offseason was for a backup offensive lineman. I no doubt believe that the players that they feel that they have in their offensive line may well fit their system better than what the previous scheme was, and that with their new offensive line coach, new offensive coordinator, and they always say this when they change their coaches, that it's better for the current group they have. And again, that may be the case. Oluwatimi might fit better under this system. Christian Haynes might be a better guard leading into this year. Laumea might be better for what they're going to run. But these are all what ifs and complete unknowns. And the thing that has plagued this franchise more than anything has been the lack of consistency and good play on the offensive line. And I know what John Schneider said earlier this week, that it's a lazy narrative. And I think you can take it a bunch of different ways. I think the lazy narrative is that everybody is trying to improve the offensive line. I think that's the biggest hurdle for the NFL right now in all of football, is finding good offensive line play. One, because of the college systems and what they run, is it providing enough talent of what systems are run in college to the NFL, and just our players still, good players on the offensive line still playing the offensive line anymore. Whatever the excuses or whatever the reasons are, the reason is simple for the Seahawks, and the answer is simple. For a decade, they've been poor on the offensive line. And if he can't get this right, and obviously he's going to address it in this draft, they're going to select some linemen. They've got to get guys that they can play right away and guys that can contribute right away, in addition to the guys that they've selected in the last 2 years. Because if they can't get this right, which has been the Achilles heel of this organization for a decade, unfortunately, the best GM that this organization has ever had, because he delivered a Super Bowl and a consistent winner, is going to be out of a job. That's just the reality of it. because that's what's going to happen, because it's what has been holding them back the most. It is this one particular position, and maybe everything coming together with the guys they've drafted in the last few years. I'm certainly not going to close the book yet on Christian Haynes. I don't think anybody should. And what they've done here to change their offensive system, all of this. What they did a couple of years ago was a calculated risk by this ownership to move in the direction to stay with John Schneider. I think ultimately I still agree with what they did, but it was a risk. And they had a good season last year. Missed the playoffs barely. It wasn't like some unmitigated disaster. But the pressure and the clock is ticking on John Schneider and the rest of his front office personnel to make sure that they can get back to that championship level. All right, that's Hey What the Puck. It's brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. They let you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. They are locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when these damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. All right. Big thanks to everybody watching and listening today. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Limbeck Lumber, of course. We also got Zoggs on Fox Island, Hartley and Hartley Insurance. In addition, Georgetown Brewery. Go check out their new tavern beer at your local bar. And, of course, visit the brewery at georgetownbeer.com. Also, and as always, Restoration One. Today's Daily Puck Drop on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. Also find the Daily Puck Drop on your favorite podcast platforms and, of course, at pucksports.com. When you're at pucksports.com, please sign up to become a member of the Pucks Posse. $5 a month. You support all the free content and VIP and exclusive material we do as well, like our baseball coverage with Ryan Divish, our MLB Insider. Dane Brugler, that's all up there on the Pucks Posse membership page from The Athletic, author of The Beast, leading up a four-part series leading up to the NFL draft, and our brand new podcast, The Sports Pit, with Steve Sandmeyer and Matt Stretch Johnson. Pretty sure so check out that there at pucksports.com. Also, the Graz with Gas Take 5 podcast, which is produced here by Puck Sports. New episodes every Monday on YouTube and all podcast platforms. Just search Graz with Gas Take 5. And, of course, you can find everything up at pucksports.com. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Enjoy the draft. We will break it all down tomorrow. Only the way that myself, Jim Moore, and Chris Egan can do. All right. We'll see you tomorrow. As always, promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rob you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!